What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, owner, and founder, Dwight Vick. And today, again, we're recording part two of our VHSL high school basketball preview preseason show. Yesterday, we had Eric Brown, head coach of Hampton High Basketball, Lee Mary of Ballin' NBA Podcast. We also had Battlefield coach Bills and his guys, and also Doug Craig of Woodson. So that was a great show. So I'm going to give you the same energy I gave you guys yesterday. We're recording now with one of my favorite people. He has numerous titles. If you want to know about anything sports, football, basketball, this is the one and only Hatfield, broadcaster, analyst, VA preps, ODU, color. Is it color commentator or is it
Play-by-play guy. Play-by-play.
play-by-play? I did the color commentator. That's what I did
There
for
you
a
go.
few years.
Yeah.
Matt, how you doing, man? You're looking great in that Vicktory Life blue, by the way.
I appreciate it. I love Rockets when I can. It's always a pleasure, my friend. And I'm ready for some hoops. This is a busy, stressful, yet exciting time of year because we have as you know, being a stand-up player in your own right, it's the overlap, which is dreaded for us reporters, but for all you athletes and folks that love the games, the fans, you love it. And then the
I love it.
coaches, they're kind of in between. They love it and hate it. So yeah.
Well, I'm getting a jump because I know a lot of people, and this is a big weekend, big weekend with Maury and
Oh
William
yeah.
football, Holland
Yeah.
Springs
I'll
and
be there.
Manchester, and Battlefield and Freedom. And I would love to talk about those games. I know you're going to do your recap and you go live, and as soon as I get that alert, I jump on. So I can't wait. And you up there dancing, great energy. It's late at night, and I'm sitting there
Yep.
watching. But I want to touch on basketball because that is ironic that people don't believe this, but that's my favorite sport. I love basketball. I love when you and my guy Ed, you guys will talk about it back on your old show. That was great. And I love when you break down basketball. I know you're featuring a lot of different podcasts, but I feel like this year is going to be no different in the VHSL and all the different classes, girls and boys. I did the Prince William County Media Day preseason with Prince William County Sports and Entertainment, and Nova Hoops was there, Rusty from the Kirk and Burr Show, and also Jay Golson. And we had Coach Kelly with OP Girls, their contender. We had Sherman Rivers, the Patriots definitely contender. And then you also had Forest Park. So there are a lot of contenders up here in Northern Virginia, 804, and definitely in the 757. So let's do this. Let's talk Division Four, because I got Shanda Bailey and her girls coming in later. I had Eric Brown on last night. Let's talk
Mhm.
girls first, Division Four. Who are some of the contenders and players and teams, coaches that we should be looking out for?
Well, I mean, I think you have to start with them, even though they graduated what was the most dazzling player that we had in maybe in the tournaments last year in Kennedy Harris. We saw what she did for them. It was at George Mason. She was just phenomenal. Feel like Division Four is going to be kind of wide open to a degree. I know a couple of teams that were once in Division Four, going back a ways. Menchville is going to be really strong. They're now in Division Five. I know Deep Creek, which was in Division Four, would have really been, I think, equipped to make a run. And you look at another team that was in Division Four, won a state championship just a couple seasons ago. Kings Fork had one of their best players depart and Soraya Griffin. So I feel like it's kind of wide open. You start with the champs because to the victors go to spoils, as they say. And I think she's got another good team that will be right there in the hunt. But I think you're going to see some teams outside of the 757, 804 mixture that will be making noise. Pulaski County, who lost in the state championship, should be
Mm-hmm.
competitive. Tuscarora won 25 games this season ago. I expect them to be competitive. Louisa might not be as powerful, which got to the state quarters. They'll be in the mix, but there's a number of teams. And then another team that went up, Dwight, I think this is why Division Four, maybe on the girls and boys side, as I morph into this a little bit, is the most wide open. Matoka was a state quarterfinalist and lost to Kings Fork. They went up to Region 5C as
Five
we
C.
watched in
Yeah.
football making a run here in Region Championship. So I feel like Division Four is up for grabs. It's anybody's. I don't know if there's a definite team, whereas I could label in a lot of other divisions, boys or girls, you always have every year, right? Darnell Dozier, Princess Anne. They're going to be in the tournament or in the championship game. You're going to have this team. You remember for years when Rachel Mead was at Cosby. Cosby's going to be in
Cosby.
the
Yeah.
Final Four. I don't know that there's a team I'd label the favorite. I think Hampton's by the end of the season, she's going to have them right there in the conversation and can certainly win it again. But she doesn't have that one takeover player like Kennedy Harris was that really was the difference maker. They won the game by 12. Other good players on the floor, which I know she's going to talk about with you, but that's the player that you just had no answer for. And sometimes when
She
you get
was
to that
special.
level, yeah, she was difference maker. And I don't know if there's one player in that division. We've seen it in football too, Dwight, where you have that player in Division One or Division Two. I go back to like Damon Claiborne and King Williams at Wake Forest
Hmm.
now in the ACC. You have a player like that, you're not beating them. And maybe Radford's got that this year, Landon Clark, but it's going to be the case in girls. I think that's the most interesting division where if you gave me a team or the field, I'm taking the field all day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all day.
So I talked to my longtime teammate and brother and one of my best friends, Eric Brown, last night. And he's very excited about his team. And I said on our show that I felt like, the Peninsula District in football, you kind of have Phoebus, and then, Warwick is having a great season. But typically Phoebus has been the class of football in the Peninsula District. It's not like it was in the Golden Era. But in basketball, you got Woodside, you got Menchville, you got Hampton. And he reminded me that Kickintan last 2 years has won 20 or more games. So let's preview the Peninsula District and Division 4 and 5. You can talk about both because
Yeah.
they have both divisions in that district and in that region. You can talk about that as well.
Well, it's funny. I got asked by one of the sports reporters down this way about who I thought would be the 5 or 10 best teams in Tidewater. And when I got done with it, you mentioned about forgetting K-Town won 20 games, and they got a new coach now as Willie Gauze has left. DJ Campbell's dad, Dwayne Campbell, longtime assistant, is now the head man. And DJ, by the way, big shout out to him. He is playing marvelous at Western Carolina for those that haven't followed it. But I forgot about Menchville because they did move on Etienne Struthers, Alan Struthers, the last couple of years, East Tennessee State, Appalachian State, Lamont's two sons, and AJ Clark, by the way, who's playing college basketball. Chauncey Jenkins is at Old Dominion after starting at Wichita State. But like Lamont's got a pretty good team still with the Watlington brothers and Bryce and Jordan. So I think like they're the forgotten team, even though I would label Woodside, if not the favorite, one of the favorites to win the Class 5 state championship again. And Hampton, I feel like because Region 4A is not as strong in boys basketball, I think Eric Brown, despite losing Jalen Wynn, the Peninsula Catholic, has a very, very good team. Bringing Malik Johnson coming in is a major boost. Gavin Kay is going to be a breakout player this year, folks. Watch out for him. He's a 6'7" forward who can really play. They've got
Yes.
shooters. They got a couple multi-sport guys from football like Jamari Lumpkin and Duran Ball. I like their nucleus. I watched them in the fall, saw them in the summertime win the Heritage Summer League, and that was with Wynn. And I felt like with Wynn, they were a state championship team. Even without him, I feel like they're a state caliber team, Final Eight team. I might pick like a Verona out of Richmond, the favorite, because defending champs, you start with them. They have one of the best point guards in the state in KJ Weish. Matter of fact, the two best point guards in Virginia might be in the 804 with Damon Red Thompson at John Marshall, who I just watched last night drop 30 on Bishop O'Connell and KJ
Special.
Weish. Yeah, KJ Weish, who was still third here
Special.
in Verona. And by the way, then your next best point guard might be the young man at Maury and Adrian Newton, who's right there, one of the better point guards in NBA too. But to get back to your point, Peninsula, I think like you have 3 or 4 teams you're going to be watching all year long. Woodside, I feel like you're watching Hampton. I think they play, by the way, first game of the year. I think it's next
Yeah.
Tuesday, in fact.
Tuesday. I'll
Yeah.
be there. I'll be there, barring traffic or something crazy with my
Please send
job.
me updates because I have an OD women's game to call against Elon. So I can't be there. I wish I could clone myself and be at 3 or 4 football games at once or 3 or 4 basketball venues at
Yeah.
once, but I can't. So I'll rely on
Yeah.
you for updates if you don't mind. But
I don't
no,
mind doing that, man.
yeah, I appreciate that. Well, and amidst the game, you don't have to give me like play by play. I do that stuff for people on Twitter and all kinds of stuff. But no,
Appreciate that, by the way. Thank you. Because
we
sometimes
try. We
I'm
try.
trying to keep up and I look right on Twitter and you give me up
Yeah.
there. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Listen, someone came up to me at the scrimmage. I'll get back to the four picture and PD in a second. I said, "How do you take photos, tweet, and write at the same time?" I said, "It's OCD, man. It's a gift and a curse. If you ever watch Monk, the TV show Monk, Tony Shalhoub, that's me in basketball. It's
My mom's
it's
show.
neat to do, but it means I got something wrong with me. Is what it means. It's nothing to be bragging about. But anyways, I think it's 3 teams you'll be watching all year long, and even with that, with Woodside, Hampton, and with Menchville, you can get picked off on a given night by a Bethel. Craig Breon's a veteran, over 400 wins. You don't sleep on them. Kickintan's got some athletes, though they're going through a transitional period, and they graduated a lot of pieces like Justin Bass, Jaden Pace from their teams that made back-to-back 20-plus win seasons. And there's going to be some teams. Heritage, Dimitri Benton made a state playoffs quietly last year. He's one of the youngest coaches around, and it makes me feel old when I see him coaching now because I covered him playing. But so there's some teams, and they're having a nice little football run too. So he'll probably get a couple of football players to go with what he had in hoops. And DJ Lasser's a point guard to know out for a young, big, tall kid who can really play. Good feel for the game. So I feel like the PD's got some intrigue to it. And that's going to be, it's been the last few years the best district in the 757, sort of taking that mantle from some previous years where it was that rugged Eastern District, the physical play, and the
Yes,
Southeastern had
yes,
that run of teams. I think the Southeastern had that run of teams, Dwight. You remember in the
yep.
2004ish to about 2010ish
Mid
range where you have a
2000s,
team
yep.
make the states. Yeah, where Ed had his teams at Nansemond River. You had Deep Creek with Corey Law and them, Kings Fort with Jaquan Parker and them. It seemed like it was a team every couple of years that made a state run out of the Southeastern. And I think the Southeastern's good this year with Kings Fork and Oscar Smith, but it doesn't have the star power, obviously, with the departure of Kareem Stagg, who left Oscar Smith to IMG Academy in Florida. So I think the PD might be the best district in the 757 still. It might not be by a wide margin, but I think you start there as far as the teams in Hampton Roads go.
Before we get over to the south side and talk about the Kings Forks and that side of the water, I want to talk a little bit about Woodside. I got a chance to see them this summer when they played
Yeah.
Patriot on Sunday afternoon in the VHSL first ever live period. And that was a great game. And we get to see them. Patriot opens up with them down there at the Princess Anne tip off against Woodside. And Woodside, coming off that Division Five state championship, two great personalities in Steph Walsh and Sherman Rivers, who don't shy away from tweeting and
No,
and going at it as far as just
I heard it got
promoting their
chippy. I wasn't
programs.
there, but I heard it got chippy.
It
Yeah.
was great though, but the kids
Yeah.
played hard, and you and I covered this stuff. We seen it. It was great. But I want to talk about their program, man, real quick, because I mean, they came back from 20 plus down in the state championship. He lost a dog, the kid that went to Richmond. I forgot his name. Really,
Trevor
really
Smith.
big.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
great player. But then I saw them against John Marshall. Did you get a chance to watch them against John Marshall in the CBG live game?
I didn't. I actually watched them at the Virginia Beach Sports Center. They played some powerful teams there. 1-1, lost a close one, but looked very good. And I mentioned and commented to Stefan Welsh there, who's done a very fine job. I said to Steph, I said, I think that they're probably one shooter away, although they got Dietrich who can knock down some outside shots. Silas Barksdale is a big deal inside. And the young kid, Jordan Houston, he's coming, folks. I think he had
Mm-hmm.
like 26 and 12 in their scrimmage against
Mm-hmm.
Lancetown.
Yeah.
And I feel like that Messiah Stevens now takes that ownership at the point for them. I think it's going to be really interesting if we get them and more to get in the state semis because they played two really good playoff games the last couple of years. They blew out Maury in the region championship. Maury got off to a good start. Nice adjustments made by Brandon Plummer in the state semi game. Maury didn't hold up. I think Woods had more experience and firepower overall. The year before, you remember, Maury came back from a big deficit to stun Woodside at Scope in the regional semis. It's part of that double dip that included the Kickingham Mentional game before it. While I was out of town in Florida, kind of following from afar. But no, I think the thing is that's going to be fascinating is if Woodside's inside game with Maury's inside game is kind of what dictates the flow because Maury's got a big man in Tyler Bell. Assuming we get that matchup again in the playoffs, but he's God. They can play fast, they can play loose, and there's sort of an expectation now of getting that pressure defense to make people wilt and get buckets, which, as you know, in the 90s and 2000s, that's how Woodside was dominant. Hampton's teams in the
Yes.
90s. When you can take over with your defense to ignite your offense, it fuels everything for them. And I'm curious that game with, you know what time it tips with them and Patriot
I
at
looked it
Princess
up.
Anne?
I looked it up last night because my dad was asking. I believe it's at 6 or 6:30. I want to
I
say
might be in
it's
luck because
6.
I'll be at a state
Yeah.
semifinal game. Tell them to hold the tip until Hatfield walks in. I'm going to get there for that game. Hopefully, I
Well,
can make it in time. And that's a
one
good
thing I
venue
said.
for me to take photos in. By the way, shout out to
Yes.
the Dozier Dome with Darnell Dozier, Corey Cofer, the coaches over there. That whoever got the lighting there, it's awesome for photos. So I hope I can make it in time.
Well, that's one thing I said when I did the Prince William County Media Day on Saturday, and I was talking to my guy Chris that runs Nova Hoops, and I was saying, I said the one thing I've seen the last 5 years, especially in the public school sector up here in Northern Virginia, but in the 804 girls and boys basketball, and in the 7-5, coaches are really looking for compelling games. When I'm gonna get to you in a second, I want to hear some of these premier matchups to look forward to in December. But you're getting a lot of coordinating where, in the 90s, you had to wait to the regionals because Tidewater was so thick, Northern Virginia. But now with the reclassification and the flexibility, you're seeing scheduling where you like Hayfield plays Woodside, Patriot plays Woodside, and then you got Patriot and Hayfield, and you got girls basketball. Shanda Bailey and company are playing Princess Anne at that same tip-off, that same night
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock. So I love it. For me, that's a basketball junkie. I love it. But you mentioned Maury.
Mm-hmm.
How about we go to the South Side and talk about some of those teams over there, Kings Fork, Maury, and some of the teams we should look out for?
Yeah, I think you have to watch out for Maury in the Eastern District. Brandon Plummer's got a great nucleus. I think last year he was probably a man or two deep, shy deep enough of being able to really get through that Woodside round and get back to the state finals where they lost the year before in a heartbreaker, if you recall, to Highland
Yep.
Springs. His point guard he's a guy that can control the flow of the game, and Adrian Newton, Tyler Bell inside is a big body who continues to show progress. Then you have just that gene pool, which you'll appreciate and enjoy from the late 90s or late 80s, early 90s, where you have Cornell Parker's son and Caden
Yes.
Parker. You have
Jaden
Plummer's
Parker.
son and Javion Green. I mean, it's tailor made for a story. I told our guy Larry Obama from the pod, I said that this story writes itself. You've got like 8 kids on this team that have dads or uncles or that played. And I think there's a little bit of a cohesiveness that will help them as they go through some of those battles because Northview's looking to knock off their head. They have one of the best guards in the 757 in Keon Fats Mitchell. You also have Lake Taylor, who I'm watching as we speak, by the way, on one of my windows. They're scrimmage and green run as we speak in the Ashley James benefit game. It's 38-30, started the fourth quarter. They've got size. They got Mello Baines inside, who's 6'8". They have Elijah Moss Washington, who's fresh off the football field, who's 6'8", going to Syracuse for football. And Derek Yogi Edwards, who was a longtime assistant with Kenny Brown there. They have a system. They didn't change much in terms of principles and philosophy when he took over as head coach a few years ago. They lost a heartbreaker in the state quarters to Skyline, lost in the region final to Hopewell. But I think being close with young kids that were sophomores and juniors, now they come back. And they have a pretty good point guard, by the way, too, in Aaron Elliott. So I like what they have. There's some people that zone them up, so they'll dare them to make threes, and we'll see if they can do it in pressurized spots. I think Skipwith is their main outside bomber, but they'll be a factor in Class 3 and maybe the favorite with their size, even though Northside and Cave Spring have been the flag carriers the last couple of years out there in that Roanoke area for Class 3. And then I think you obviously, when you look at the rest of the South Side, Lansdowne, the Beach, Dwight Robinson's got a terrific team. Remember the name Deshaun Spellman. He's going to really break out this year as a statewide name as a 10th grader, and they go about 10 deep. Green Run's
Yeah.
solid again. Kenny Harris has got a nice program with Trey Miller and Cash Jackson leading the way as the junior duo. And then there's some other teams that will be dangerous, pesky. I don't think we have as many elite teams, Dwight, but I wouldn't sleep on. I mean, we know Kingsport very good. We know more of those teams, but take a Kempsville. Darren Sandler's been around the block. He's got a nice rotation of guys. He can go in and out, and they play hard and compete. I mentioned Coach Kofer at PA. He's got one of the best sophomore guards in the whole state in Styles Clemens, who can go drop 25 at the blink of an eye. So there's a lot of teams that, while they might not be ranked highly in our top 10s or viewed as a state contender, if they go beat a team that's 10-1 or 9-0 or 7-1 or 15-3, I wouldn't be shocked about it because I think the level of parity is closer, whereas we don't have as many dominant teams who are going to be winning by 30 and 40 unless they're playing some of the lower level teams. But there's a lot of teams that can pull some upsets as we go.
Yeah, and talking to my longtime friend Eric Brown, head basketball coach at Hampton High, they play Kempsville in their regular season matchup. So that's again another example of what I mean about getting to see a matchup in December, in January on the weekend or during the week to kind of get a better idea of who's the contenders and who might not be there yet. I noticed you didn't mention Oscar Smith. They lost that big. I don't know if he went to IMG or some private school or something.
Yeah,
I saw him against Patriot last year. He plays for Boo Williams. Really, really big kid. He looks like a tight end. But Oscar Smith is a team that last year went 25-1 and had a tough loss against Patriot. But I like their coach and I like their guards. I watched them play last year. They were aggressive. They just couldn't hit shots late in that game, and Patriot was able to pull away. That was last year. We'll see what happens this year. Let's talk.
Well, they lost one of the guards real quick. They lost one of the guards.
Oh, yeah.
Trey Williams went to Norcom as well, but they bring back Ulysses Young. They got in a couple of transfers, one from Great Bridge, one from Deep Creek. Also got a big man from Grassfield that's going to help them out for LeVar Griffin, who, when watching them in the fall, they actually blitzed Cape Henry, Dwight, in a game by 40+, which doesn't happen very often. And I think this team, and speaking with LeVar, he likes that it's more guard-oriented than having to go through the big man, because I feel like when you have a dominant big man, you know this too, sometimes you change how you play and it affects how other guys flow. And that's not a knock on Stagg or even how they were coached and developed. It's just a matter of that's how they were kind of, they knew that to go through him, and it takes away from other guys. So I feel like they'll be a little more up-tempo and get back to some of their roots, and they'll still be a pretty good team. I don't know if when they get to that level, when they have to see the Lansdowne of the world, will they be, and then maybe if they get back to the States, a Patriot, a Forest Park, who's a sneaky team, some other teams in Class 6. I don't know if they'll be able to break through that next round and go further, but I'm not counting them out. They were better than I anticipated. I thought they'd be closer to like a 14-ish win team. I think they'll still win 16, 18 games and be right there. And back to the scheduling, last point on that, or at least from my perspective, I always hear people knock the VHSL, and we know how things are with the six classes. Well, let's give them kudos. They actually allowed teams to play up to 23 games now instead of 22.
Yes. Yeah.
And I
Great
think that's a
point.
big help to get you that
Yeah.
extra bonus game of maybe a
Yeah.
showcase. They play in showcases like, our Virginia Preps Classic and other things. So you give the fans an opportunity to see that neat matchup you wouldn't ordinarily see, be it from two teams in an area or two teams from other areas, be it 757,
Hmm.
703, 804, Nova, Roanoke, wherever. So I think that's helped when you've got that. And there are more events people look forward to, like ours, the Chance Harmon, which Brian Harmon at Floyd County does a wonderful job in memory of his late son who passed away years ago. And there's things that people look forward to on a Saturday, when you get to January and February, and they say, I'm going to put this on my calendar, go check out some basketball, get you ready for the state tournament, get your appetite wet.
What about Princess Anne? They won like what 100 state championships. How are they going to be? I'm going to be up down there to watch them play Hampton. How are they looking this year? I know last year they didn't win it, but how are they looking coming into this season? Have you had a
No, they
chance to
did win it
catch them in
last
it?
year. They did
I
win
mean,
it
my
last year.
apologies. That they did win it last year. Well,
Yeah.
there was did they win it? They win it every year, right?
They 2 years ago they didn't win it. You're thinking about the year
Two,
Menchville got it.
yes, the
2 years
Menchville
ago.
thing. I
Yep.
knew I was
Yeah.
close.
No,
Yeah,
you're right. Listen, it
but
runs
how are they
together.
looking
Ever
this?
since COVID, stuff runs together. I don't fault you one bit. Sometimes I'll pinch myself and say, oh yeah, it did happen. The COVID thing made everything funky for us all. But yeah, they beat LC Bird 26-1. They got to replace Zakiya Stevenson, who was the engine of that team, who is now at Ole Miss. But the people I keep talking with, and I'm sure you'll hear this from some other coaches, is that they're highlighting Deep Creek as a sneaky team. Like they feel like Deep Creek,
Mm,
if not the favorite, they could be a team. Watch out for them. I keep hearing a lot of good things about them. But Darnell Dozier has a system. He's got, I remember, matter of fact, I think he told, let the cat out of the bag, I think he told my cohort on Saturdays, Coach Young, he ran into him at Boo Williams somewhere. He says, I got an eighth grader who's going to be like the next great thing. I'm like, he says, you always have an eighth grader. It never, while you're there, another 4 years. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think by playoff time, they might take a beating, or not beating, a loss or two early. But we know
mm-hmm.
come February, they're going to play defense. They're going to share the
Yep.
ball. They'll go
Yep.
inside, and they're not going to be anything to be played with. That's for sure.
Let's talk. Let's talk. We're on time constraint, but I got to get you in and talk real quick. To touch on Division 6 girls and then
Mhm.
boys, because I feel like in talking to my guy Larry in 804, I'm hearing about Manchester, and
Yeah.
then when you look up here where I'm at, Madison girls are always really good. You have Osborne Park led by Coach Kelly, Gainesville girls, and that Cedar Run district. You have Patriot, Gainesville, Battlefield, and OP. And I interviewed Coach Kelly on Saturday as she previewed her schedule, and she named everyone you can think of that's a contender for regionals and state championship Division 6. She is not ducking any wreck, as the kids say. What do you? Who are some teams to watch in Division 6 girls?
I yeah, I really like Manchester a whole lot. Rasheed Wright's team, I felt, and this is taking nothing from Madison, who was just brilliantly coached. And there must be something at Madison, Dwight, because I looked at her football team and her girls basketball team last year, and I keep wondering how they keep getting back to the state finals and winning it, and they're doing it. But I mean, remember, they were in that game. They had like an 8-point lead or a 6-point lead with 4 or 5 minutes to go, and Madison just found a way to get them done. And Mia Woolfolk inside is a handful. Rainwright, I like their group. But Class 6 girls, where I mentioned, there's 5 or 6 teams that have identified themselves or established themselves. Whereas I mentioned that earlier with the Class 4, where I take the field or a team. I might take, if you gave me 2 or 3 teams like you do in college football, give me Alabama, give me Georgia, give me Ohio State or the field, I might take that. So if you gave me a combination of Manchester, I think Madison will be good, but I can't see them winning it again.
Yeah,
If you gave me Manchester, Osborne Park, and then I have to think of a third team that I would take as a triple. The 3 or the field, I might take those 3. I think there's some teams like you mentioned, Gainesville. Robinson had a 26-3 record last year, quiet, or 26-4 record last year, quietly. Oakton's always been well coached. I don't know if they're quite at that level. Gainesville quietly, I think, kind of won 23, 24 games. And I don't even rule out the Thomas Dales of the world getting back in the
Thomas
conversation for
Dale.
final.
I've heard they have a squad. I'm glad you mentioned them. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they were the region champions last year and actually outlasted Manchester. And they did graduate I believe it was 6 seniors from that team. But there's enough players on that group coming back that I feel like, and they had a lot of games they scored in the 70s, 80s, and even I think they hit 90 plus 3 or 4 times. So I don't
Yeah,
think they're a team that's going to have trouble putting the ball through the hole and scoring. So yeah, I think the six picture is pretty good, and it is more populated in the Nova area. I don't think there's once you get past Manchester and Dale, and there's
yeah,
not a team in the 757 that's at that level that I see. I think it's going to be a really really competitive tournament where, interestingly enough, I mentioned the scores being high for like a Manchester and a Dale. The scores in the tournament last year, if you recall, were a lot of games in the 30s and 40s. I think there might be a little bit
40s.
more scoring in these. Yeah. Like that championship
Yeah,
game was 49-46. The semifinal game with
yes,
Madison was 34-24. I think we'll
yeah.
see a little bit more of an entertaining flow to some of these
Hmm.
state playoff games in Class 6.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and it's one of those things, man, where we saw that with the Patriot Hayfield game. I talked to you and Ed in the parking lot. Such a
Mhm.
big build up to that game, especially had that great season opener when
Yeah.
Hayfield won a buzzer beater. And to be fair, Hayfield was the better team, and they had a great run those 2 years. But it was anticlimactic. The best players on either team didn't even really do anything.
Oh,
And Green
yeah.
was people, I think they combined both teams hit two threes, and I was like, wow, this was just not what I thought it would be. But let's talk about that. Hayfield has owned Division Six the last 2 years. Coach Carlos Poindexter is a phenomenal coach, back-to-back state championships. Got Greg Jones, who played the other day for American, and David King, who I think was the engine that made Hayfield go. I told Los, listen, you will never get a player like him. He is just unique. Mix of Rodman, Oakley,
Yes, he
just physical,
was.
but without the dirtiness. I mean, just a
Yep.
savvy, high IQ, and then DJ, who I was a fan from jump. But now
Hmm.
everyone's talking about South Lakes and Jordan Scott, who has a plethora of Power Five offers. You got Patriot, who's been knocking at their door. Every year they take another step. And then you also have some other teams in six. And, what are your thoughts about some of the premier teams that, people should be looking out for?
I think the 3 best teams in Class 6. And Class 6 is a little bit deeper than I think it's been the last couple of years. I say that I've said it the last couple of years, but I think it's true again this year. I think the top 3 teams, however you want to order them or rank them, are established. In my opinion, and I'm the guy that ranks these. Whether you want to put them, this order 1, 2, 3. So I think the 3 best teams are, and I'll be surprised if these 3 don't make the Final Four of South Lakes, Patriot, and Lansdowne. And I say that because Jordan Scott is, I mean, we watched last year in the championship game against Hayfield last year, or the state
State
playoff game against
semis.
Hayfield last year. Yeah, state semis. Um, he was right there with Hayfield. I mean, he had a monster first half. Now they bring back not just him, Dwight. They bring back Brian Kennedy, defensive player of the year in the Concord, Aiden Billings, multi-sport stud in the paint, and then they got a couple transfers in, including David Rochester, who's going to be a breakout name in the junior class. They've got a system. They play with tempo. Mike Desmond's done a nice job there. Patriot brings back a lot of good pieces. They add in Tay Barber to go with the mixture of guys like your son Isaiah and Desmond Hopkins and Makai Dillard and company. And Sherman Company have been knocking on that door, and it feels like this could be their time. And Barber's the one guy, we're talking about Scott being a difference maker. Barber's the guy that can go nuclear, to steal a phrase from one of the coaches in the area. He can go nuclear and have a
Well,
30-point
see
game
that
if needed.
I've coached him for 6 years in the AAU, and I
Yeah.
think, and this is nothing against my guy, I love Rocky Carter, but Osborne, his 3 years there, they never went past the first round of the district, maybe the second round of district
Right.
tournament. So there are a lot of people who know of him, but they don't realize how good he is. He actually, in a lot of ways, is underrated because on the regional and state level, many coaches haven't seen him play unless they go to AAU. So that's actually one of those things people are like, wow, who's this kid? Which is weird because he had 14 Division One offers.
Right. Well, and to further go to that point, Dwight, you're talking about a kid that has hit a gazillion threes and he's going to the Ivy League. So he's got the basketball savvy. You don't just pick an Ivy League school for the heck of it. You got to have the other piece to go with it. So interesting to see if somebody can devise a defense in a big spot to deny him. Because again, he put up 24, 25 points per game at Osborne now, and Patriot has other weapons that Osborne didn't have that you can't. It's not as easy to say, well, we'll double him. And well, then you do that, someone's going to go off for 14, 16, 18 points, whether it is, Vick, Dillard, Hopkins, fill in the blank, Kai Wilcox. Lansdowne, I mentioned Spellman being a big factor. They've got some size to them in the paint. And I think that's going to be, there's some teams that have some size. And by the way, that Patriot district is going to be a bloodbath. My gosh, they're like all 6 to 8 of those teams. Dwight, I mean, this district. Now, listen, I'm gonna anger my friends and folks in the 804 that will say the Central District or the 757 say Eastern
No,
Peninsula District. No,
no.
best district in the state, top to bottom, is the Patriot District, because you got 5 or 6 teams that can win that district. When you look at W.T. Woodson, Doug's got a big team and a freshman point guard who's the truth.
Big,
South
big, big
County's
team.
South County's got a deep team, and Mike Robinson knows what he's doing. He won a couple state titles as well. Elijah Eccleston, watch out for him. He's going to have a big year, I think. You've got Alexandria City, who's got a tough point guard in Morrison. You've got obviously Darius Bivens and Kai Robinson at Alexandria City, West Potomac. I was thinking West Potomac's got Morrison. I'm getting myself confused here. Morrison and West Potomac, they've won the last 2 district tournaments as like a 6 seed or 5 seed. They've been lower seeds. And then you get West Springfield. Terry Henderson's a veteran coach. You've got Robinson's got Travis Hess. So you got some veteran coaches in that district. And I forgot about Lake Braddock with Brian Metris, who's won, a ton of games. He's won.
Yeah, and they score a lot. They can shoot it.
They play that, Grinnell system. So that district's
Yeah.
going to be a war. And there's going to be someone that, watch this. Remember I said this. There will be somebody that has like a 12-10 record or 11-11, and they'll go beat somebody really good to win that district, maybe win a regional game, maybe even get to the state quarterfinals or semifinals with that big 3 I am calling of South Lakes, Patriot, and Lansdowne. And you say, how'd they get there? It's because they've been battle tested. So there are some teams lurking even beyond the top 3 I'm labeling in my 4 through 10 and maybe honorable mention that you have to pay attention to, because they're playing good basketball. And if they were in other classifications, they'd have a real shot, in my opinion, to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I had Doug on, as I mentioned, part of our preview high school basketball series, and I love Doug. I actually saw him win a state championship against Hilton. I think he's a phenomenal basketball mind. There's a lot of talent, and again, because we didn't get a chance, but I may invite you back on to jump on Sunday to continue this. I know you're busy, but Forest Park is a team, because in that district in the Cardinal, Potomac has owned it for years. You're talking back when I had hair, back when Ronald Curry was the McDonald's All-American. Potomac has always been there. They've taken a slide a few years. Keith Honore stepped down, and God bless his son, Kyle. But you look at Potomac, them in Freedom, with those 2 guards, Shamar Cisco and Tavares, and then Forest Park with the big guy like Aiden at South Lakes that played both football and basketball. And they were right there, lost to Oscar Smith, and they had to go on the road. You know how tough that is in the 757. And I talked to Coach Mack on Saturday, and they are hungry. The only thing about them, and I don't know if they're ready to be the hunted, because they were a great story, and they lost their point guard. But yeah,
they're big. They got some size from football that'll help them. And they're coming on to play in our Virginia Preps Classic, which we're excited about. I won't give away the matchup just yet, but it's a team that I've outlined earlier from the 757 who's going to be a contender in a lower class. So they're going to be in the mix. And I'll caution one last team I'll throw out there. There's a bunch of teams I can tell you about. Remember Westfield. Kevin Harris won a state championship at Centerville, a couple of them. And they're going to be there by the end of the year. We're going to be talking about how Westfield's picking up steam, I think, for the following season. They almost they had a player that was coming and he went back, but they got a couple new faces.
Tavares.
Yeah, there you go.
Tavares,
Riley, he was playing with them.
Yeah.
But they have some pieces and components that will be right there. Like Isaiah Brown kid's good. I like them. They're going to, mark my words, before Kevin Harris is done at Westfield, he's going to have them playing in a state championship.
No, and that's the great thing.
But it'll be the future.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, man. That's the great thing about our state right now is you got some premier coaches, and the tough thing is that they're going to be really great teams that won't win it. One thing Eric Brown said last night that resonated with me, even with the new classifications, he said, think about this, Vic. There's only 6 teams that are going to win it on each side. Only 6 out of all these teams in VA. And I'm like, gosh, that's so true. Real quick, Matt, because I got to let you go. I'll probably hit you up to see if I can get you back on it, because we got to talk about some other teams on Sunday. But the Prep Soup Classic, how can people find out about that? How can they follow you? How can they get on your lives? Because you got a lot going on your podcast. How can just to wrap up, how can people follow you?
Sure. I appreciate it. One little nugget about that too, about talking about Eric Brown. I spoke with him in the fall, how, there's always those games in the regionals or it could be quarterfinals or semifinals. These we've had some excellent coaching chess matches. I mean, you mentioned the state finals not being as good as we thought, but a lot of that was the preparation that Carlos Poindexter and Sherman Rivers put in to take away some of those better guys on the floor, because they had met each other before and there was familiarity factors. We've seen that with, Vance Harmon and Henrico against Troy Mans and LC Bird. Eric had a great game. Even the year they played in the state championship with Cat Barber, they had to survive that regional quarterfinal with Ed's guys at Nance Minerva, where they had Don Shaw, Brighton, Shannon Evans, and Jordan Baker was the hero with that big 3 late in the game. So the chess matches between these coaches is always awesome to see when you get to tournament time. But they can find out all my information just by going to virginiapreps.com. Follow me on X or Twitter at Hatfield Sports. Also follow our account, VA Preps Classic. We'll have all kinds of info as we get closer to the matchups. It's going to be on January 20th and January 27th. January 20th will be at Green Run. The 27th will either be at Green Run or Virginia Wesleyan. We're ironing out some details to see which venue it'll be at that day. I'll be running over from Old Dominion to come over and have the last few games that day, but we'll have the matchups for you as we get closer. We'll have our top 10s out. We'll have all kinds of basketball previews and content and coverage as the overlap continues with football ending and basketball beginning. So we'll have all kinds of stuff. We'll have some interviews up the next day or two. People can check out from the John Marshall O'Connell scrimmage. I caught up with both Ty White and Joey Wooten. A lot of talent on the floor. So we'll be highlighting it wall to wall. Subscribe to the YouTube pages with me at Hatfield Sports and also our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube to watch our shows on Saturdays and all our podcasts with that.
There you have it, man. Matt, I will always appreciate you and try to get you on. As a matter of fact, I'll hit you later about trying to get you back on Sunday to cover some more divisions and teams because there's so much great basketball, so much great coaching, and you're going to be busy between football and basketball. So get your vitamins and hydrate because there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend from college to the rivalry games and the playoffs and in high school, Highland Springs, Freedom. It's a lot going on, bro.
Michigan, Ohio State, my friend, and I won't go into detail yet, but if a certain team in college football in our state wins to become bowl eligible, I'm looking at the calendar and yours truly might be making a trip out of the country. Well, technically in the country, but far, far, far away for the holidays. So we don't know if that happens. You know how bowl games can interfere with people's lives. But, if you're going to that specific place for Christmas, it might not be a bad thing. So you never know what's going to happen. And it is a hectic time of year, but also a joyous one with family and friends and loved ones. That's for sure.
Well, you have a blessed Thanksgiving, a great holiday, and I can't thank you enough. I speak for a lot of people. Appreciate everything you guys do. Shout out to my guy, Ed, too. I got to get him on next time.
For sure. Likewise. And I hope to see you on December 2nd at the Dozier Dome.
Yes. Be safe, man. Yeah, that's the plan. I want to do that. Yeah. All right, man. Take care.
Good to see you. Take care.
That is the great Matt Hatfield joining us, man, breaking down high school basketball, man. One of my favorite people. And please, if you love high school sports, football, basketball, baseball, that guy is like a walking, I won't say encyclopedia because it's 2023. A lot of people don't know what that is. So shout out to my guy, Matt, man, just phenomenal. So we are now joined by one of my favorite teams in the entire state, one of my favorite coaches and people, my longtime sister, head basketball coach of Lady Crabber, state champion. Make sure you get that right, Shanda Bailey, and some of her team, her players are here joining us on the Vicktory Life Legacy Podcast, part 2 of our VHSL basketball preview. The season starts soon as scrimmages. This is a great time of the year. You have the football playoffs, and we're going to talk basketball because that's my favorite sport, despite me being one time a really good football player. Shanda, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great, man. I appreciate y'all being patient and flexible. I know y'all had a long day and practice and scrimmages, or y'all went to one or whatever. So I just appreciate y'all jumping on. But I definitely wanted to show the ladies some love because you guys are the defending state champions in Class 4. So we're going to talk a little bit about this upcoming season, what y'all got planned, because you guys are the hunted, and the expectations is for you guys to return to that. But this is a new season with the same expectations, but a greater challenge. So before we talk into the season, I pick your brain about what's going on. Dreyana, introduce yourself, year, position.
All right. My name is Dreyana. I'm a point guard for Hampton High School, and I'm a class of 2024.
I love it. Okay.
Hi, I'm Corynn. I'm a guard for Hampton High School, and I'm a senior 2024.
2024. All right.
I'm Jaiden. I'm a senior 2024, and I play post.
Post. Okay. All right. Last but not least.
I'm Katie. My real name Kaliyah. I'm a class 2025, and I'm a stretch forward.
Stretch 4. Okay, you got specific on me. All right. Shanda, how's it going, man? This is a big year for you. You love coaching. I've had you on before a few years ago, back when the Vicktory Life Legacy Podcast started to take off. You on my better guests. I still show that to people, and I still get people talking about it. You take pride in being a coach for Hampton High, and you got ladies had a great run last year. A few years ago, y'all won a state championship, but I remember talking to you, and I saw you, and you talked about how upset you were because COVID took the opportunity away from you guys to actually play. But with that being said, you have two chips under your belt. You've established yourself as one of the best coaches in the VHSL. You don't shy away from competition, and most importantly, you have a program that you've built. Just talk about what you have done to prepare your ladies for this upcoming season, fall league, summer league, conditioning, and how it's going so far.
I think I have a good staff. James helps
Shout out
us
to
out.
James. Shout out to
Yes.
James.
Tremendously. Rashawn Ames helps out a lot. So really they do most of the work in the preseason. They are gym rats, so they're in the gym with the girls, doing a lot of skill work. I really come in just to open the gym. If somebody needs to get shots up, give them some balls. But I start coming back in after AAU season. I think the kids have enough of me during regular season and need a break, in the off season. But, we just try to give them that work year round. This year has been kind of a challenge trying to figure out the best defense for us to play. Usually it's really easy for me to look at them and figure out what we're going to do defensively and offensively. It's been kind of a challenge trying to figure out what we're going to do this season. But, that's where we're at. I think we finally got it kind of to a T now as to what will work best for us. So we're just ready to get in there and play. And, hopefully we'll return, that state championship game this season.
I love it. This question is for the seniors. We have two seniors on here. Jaiden, I'll start with you. You said you played a post. Have you been at Hampton all 4 years?
No, this is my second year at Hampton High School.
Okay. But are you familiar with the program expectations that Coach Shanda Bailey has created there, right?
Yes.
So with that being said, what perspective do you have as a senior, this being your last go-round, everything is your last district game against this team or last regionals? How are you approaching this year and what's your focus?
My focus is rebounding and making sure I get a whole bunch of putbacks, and yeah, that's my focus.
So if I was to watch you play this year, what would somebody say, or what should I expect when it comes to how you approach the game? And if I watch you for 4 quarters when you're in the game, what is a strong attribute that you present? Is it toughness? Is it physicality? Is it discipline? Or is it all three or other things? What is it? What should I expect when I watch you play?
I think it's all three. I don't think I'm going to give up. I think I'm going to push myself to keep going. And
Nice. Okay, I see some of your teammates nodding. Dreyana, what about you? Same question. You're a senior. What is your focus this year? I mean, what's your mindset going into your last go round, and how have you gotten yourself prepared for that?
My focus is to just lead my team like how the previous guards did that were here before, like Kennedy Harris and Prophet. Just want to make it easy on them, just take all the responsibility so they don't really got to do too much. My focus is just making a smart play and making my coaches proud for her.
I like it. Now, you been in Hampton your entire time?
Yes.
So you used to go against Kennedy Harris sometimes in the quad scrimmages and all of that. How was that? What you learned from her? I always ask this question because when you play with a talented and you go against a talented player in practice, a lot of times people ask you, how was it like to play with that person and whatever. I always like to ask, what did you learn? Because when you play with really great players, if you're paying attention, you can take some of those skills and that leadership or whatever she brings to the table, you could apply it to your game. So question for you, what are you taking from her? What did you learn by playing with her and going against her in practice?
Going against her, well, no, I'll start with learning from her. Learn from her, I learned a lot. I learned how to lead, and she really brought me out of my shell. I was real scared when I first started playing. It was hard with the coaches yelling all the time and having to do the weight training and skill training. It was really hard, but she kept me up all the time. She taught me how to be a leader and to not only look out for myself, but look out for everybody else around me. And going against her, it was hard. It was hard. Yeah. It was real hard to adapt to how she played, learn how to check her and do certain stuff for her. But she was the best guard in the PD. So playing against her made everything else easy.
Yeah, she's up at George Mason, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And she definitely, listen, I put her highlights on my Instagram account in the state championship. And I used to check for anything Shanda or somebody else would post because she was a dog. But that's the benefit that you have that you mentioned of playing with someone of that caliber. And now you got the keys to the car. So great responsibility and great expectations. Coach Shanda, when you look at your team, obviously it's November as we record this part 2 of our series. Basketball is such a long season compared to football because you get district games, showcase games. How do you maintain that level of expectation when it comes to we got to keep getting better? You heard Dreyana talk about all that yelling that y'all did. So how do you keep them locked in? Because complacency is the enemy of greatness. Ahmad Hawkins, our mutual friend, tweets that all the time, and I love that because complacency, why not chill? You guys are the state champions. You definitely are one of the better programs in the state. How do you keep you and your staff keep them locked in?
There is no chill because every night, we see a team's best game, so it doesn't matter who you're playing. You can be playing the worst team in the PD. When we play them, they're not going to look like the worst team, because they're always going to bring their A game. Every team we play always is going to bring their A game. So, we tell the girls that as well. And then James tells them we're not all these games, regular season games and, Christmas tournament games, we're playing for March. So the season doesn't even really start until then. So, these are all really kind of warm-up games. They're all preparing us for the postseason. So, come March is when we really start our season. These are just games preparing us for that. So they know, that's when we are really, really, really locked in. That's when we really need to be playing our best at that time.
Yeah, and you mentioned getting ready for March. Obviously, we're going to talk about this in a second. You got a great matchup. I'll be down there on December 2nd at the Princess Anne tip-off against Princess Anne, which I'm going to make sure I'm there for that. 2 great programs, 2 great coaches. But within district play, I've always felt, and you made a great point, when you're the hunted, like which Hampton High Lady Crabbers are, everybody has y'all circle, especially with social media now, with media coverage, things like what I do. People are going to check for y'all. What are some other teams in y'all district this upcoming season that you should be, not like worried about, but like you're going to get their best shot, like other opponents? Like, I know when we play Bethel or Mitchfield. Who are some other teams?
I'll let my kids answer that one.
All right. I'll tell you what, Corynn, and then what is it? Is it KD? I can't see it right now. Is it
KD?
KD. All right.
KD.
Kaliyah. Well, I'll stick with KD because I ain't trying to mess nobody's names up and have your mother tweeting me and texting me. So, Corynn, I'll start with you. Who are some of those teams in your district?
We take everybody seriously, but like she said, a lot of them are warm-up games. But obviously, Mitchville, it's always a game, a back-and-forth game with them. The PA game will be a good game, but in the Peninsula District, probably it's going to be Mitchville because it always has been.
Yes, it has. What about you? You agree with that, KD?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
Talk to it. You got the mic now. Tell me about it.
I think we are on competition in the PD this year. If y'all see all the people we've brought in and all the people who've came from this area, we have a lot of great players who've came up. We have a lot of great players on this team. So when it comes to us battling with anybody or even Mitchfield, I don't think they're going to give us the business this year. I don't think our competition is really slim to none in the PD, if you really ask me.
I love it. This thank you. This the energy I need because this is your opportunity to speak. Now, look, let me ask you this. Because one thing I love, I played basketball for Coach Brown, a legendary coach who Eric Brown replaced, and I was a football player. But basketball is my favorite sport. But one thing I remember about basketball is practices were intense. The bench, we were physical. Even if you only played 4 minutes a game, 3 minutes, or you were a star player, standout player. KD, how are practices? Because I know Shanda, and I know how she is. I've seen her coach. I've seen her coach at Boo Williams. She demands a lot, and she's tough. But I don't play for Shanda. I don't play for Coach Baily. So how are practices? Do y'all get after it? Is it trash talk? Does it get physical?
Yes, and you know the one coach who brings in trash talk now. Coach Baily trash talks, if y'all believe it or not. She trash talks. But
real?
Coach James, yes. Coach James, he don't even have to play defense, but he just brings the mental part of practice. So he'll start talking trash just to see who can handle it and make sure if we came out like us talking on defense or us talking to each other, that's like a 6-man on the floor. You don't see a lot of teams doing that. So when we go into practice and we get after it like that, or Coach James start talking trash and it leads to us talking trash to each other, it'd be friendly competition. But we all go and we get after it, because at the end of the day, if we don't push ourselves, these PD games not going to push us and get ready for states. These are like scrimmages. So when we get in practice, it's our time. We the best players that we're going to go against. So at the end of the day, we go against each other hard, and Coach Baily don't have no room for us slacking in practice or us not paying attention. It's just no room for that when you're trying to go back to back or when you know you're a championship team.
I'm gonna
Let
tell
me
you like
say this.
this.
I don't talk trash, Vic. I don't talk trash. I talk
Yes,
truth. I talk truth. There's a difference. I'll tell the truth.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that accountability mixed in with trash talk.
Right.
I
I
got you.
tell truth.
Katie,
I'm
I
the
like
best
how you
point guard
talk.
in the gym.
I'm going. I gotta understand some. I've known her since the '90s, man. It's my little sis right here. But look, on the serious note, I'm gonna get y'all back on because the energy y'all bring, I like that. And I've seen the scores. I keep up, even though I'm 3 hours away up here in Northern Virginia, the DC area. I've seen games where y'all won 109-15. And I'm just like, I post the scores. Sometimes I do it just to share, just so people up here can keep notice. I do media work, but then the comments are crazy. And Shanda comes on my post like, and what? What? But uh Shanda, Coach Bailey, when you talk about the Princess Anne matchup, I know that's not the all be on, and a lot of my coaches who've been on our series so far said the same thing. It's the run for March because you want to be the last team standing. But that's an opportunity. What are you looking for most of that game? Because Princess Anne has been one of those teams that I don't know. I think I was told 12, 13 state championships, but U.S. state championship when they coach, and you establish yourself as a coach in a program to check for, to be reckoned with. But a lot of times you learn a lot about yourself and your players when you go against another premier program. What are you looking
Right.
forward to that matchup? Will that be our first game?
No, our first game is Tuesday against Woodside. We
Oh, yeah, I'll be
play
there.
Princess Anne that Saturday. I mean, I think, to be honest, I think most teams that we play this season will have an advantage. We have 4 girls that can play in the paint. You're not going to find a team that has 4 girls that can play the post. You're just not. You'll be lucky if you have one. You know, big girls, as they call them, are far few and in between. So I feel like we have the advantage in that area. I think PA and I are very similar. They lost their best guard. We lost our best guard. So, both of them are going on to, big programs and doing big things. So we'll see,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But I definitely feel like my girls have the advantage for Saturday.
Yeah. That's like right around the corner. I can't wait for that. I should be able to get down there for that game against Woodside. What time is that game for y'all, Woodside? Is that at Woodside or is that
It's at
before the
Hampton.
boys? Okay, so it's right before the boys.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Who was on the team that won the states last year? Was everybody on this? Everybody, right? Perfect.
Yep.
So Jaiden, I'll start with you. I was talking, as I mentioned, I've talked to a lot of coaches this week and even in previous episodes. I love talking to championship winning coaches because they don't so much relish in the fact that they won the state championship. They talk about the perspective of how hard it is to win, the sacrifices you make, the sprints, the conditioning, the lifting, the film, going to bed early to making sure you don't get caught up in school and, get in trouble, being locked in, as we say. Eric Brown, the head boys basketball coach, made a great point last night when him and his guard were on. He said, it's 6 teams on both sides that only win. And it's so many teams in the VHSL. Just talk about, I know we're looking forward to this year, but Jaiden, I'll start with you and I'm going to go around to everybody. What was it like to be the last team standing at VCU? And what did it feel like? I mean, were you emotional? Did you think like, wow, I knew we were going to be here? Or like, I want to do it again? I mean, everybody has a different response. What was it like for you?
For me personally, I feel like it was a great feeling. It was emotional, but I knew that we could get there. I knew that if we wanted it, we were going to fight for it and we were never going to give up. Like I knew we were going to push ourselves and work hard for what we wanted because I feel like we all wanted it and we weren't going to give up.
Yeah. All right, KD. Keep it real with me. Did you know like y'all were gonna win it like game 8, like nobody gonna see us? Or what was your reaction when you were the last team standing in Division 4 at the Siegel Center? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, KD. You're muted. Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
When we go to practice, Coach Bailey give us like the stats of all the teams that stand in. But even when she do that, like I don't keep up with coaches and who coach where. It's just another game. Like when we were on that bus going to VCU, we were so lit on the bus, you wouldn't even think we had any doubt in our mind that we was gonna lose that game. None of us, none of the
Really?
players on the bus had any doubt. We was on the bus lit like we didn't even have a game, but we was gonna win it. We all knew from all 6 games, them regional games to them states games, we knew what time it was. It was go time. We had seniors that we wanted to make proud. We like this year we have most seniors we want to make proud. So at the end of the day, I personally don't ever go in there down myself or my team, nor the coaches we have, because we have a great team of ladies and a great coaching staff. So when it comes to us going to states and being there, we knew we was going to be one of the last teams. And on that bus ride, we knew we weren't losing that game. All of us said we was going to do whatever it took out of each one of us to go in there and win that game. So whatever happened, it was going to happen, but we was going to win. Whether we won by 2, we was going to win. We knew that.
Let me ask you this, Katie. Let me ask you this. Are you the emotional leader of this team?
Am I what?
Are you the emotional leader of this team? Let me make sure I'm speaking to the mic. Are you the emotional leader?
Yes.
I can listen. No, I can sense it. What you say, Coach?
She's the grandma.
Oh.
Yeah, she is a baby, but she's been here before. She has an old soul.
Yeah. I mean,
so very mature for her age.
Yes, very mature. What year are you again? You already introduced you class of what?
I'm a class of 2025.
Okay. All right. Okay. Corynn, your thoughts on that state championship when it hit you? What were your thoughts?
It was kind of just relief because we went the whole season just sweat and tears, hard practices, good practices, and it was just relief that we made it that far. And we went in there knowing that we were going to win, but when we won, it was just all of our hard work put together. We all played a role that whole season, and it was just relief and happiness that we finally won the chip.
Yeah, no doubt. And Dreyana?
I mean, like everybody said, we knew we was gonna make it. We knew we was gonna get there. I knew from the first game. Who we play first? I don't even remember who we played first. Yeah.
Who was it, Coach?
Was that our first game?
I think so.
You said you knew a first game?
Mm-hmm.
You knew a first game?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah,
so take me back. I know we're moving forward to this year, but you going back to the crib, you're going back home, and you're like, yo, we got this, man. Ain't nobody gonna see us. Nobody. Or you were like, I feel like we can win state. Like, how confident were you? Because I find that pretty impressive.
I was very confident. Like, nobody was gonna get it. Because at the end, one team got us gonna win, one team gonna lose. We weren't gonna lose. And we all knew that. Like, everybody was on the same page. Coaches were on the same page, all the players, everybody.
I love it. Let's stick with you for a second. When you're talking about like, you know it, how about this year? I know we all have not started. Tuesday night, we kick it off. But I get a feeling a lot of confidence and sense of belief. How confident are you heading into this season?
Very confident. Same confidence I had last year.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So no team, nobody, no player scares you.
No.
Or worries you. Everybody was nodding at the same time. Look at that. That's amazing. Where do you get this confidence from? Is this Coach Baily and Coach James?
Coach Baily.
Oh, Jaiden, I see you nodding. It is?
Yeah. You don't fear people. I tell my kids, we're not fans. We're not fans of nobody now. We not doing that. So, you're going to go in every game like nobody can beat you. You have to have that mentality. You have to have that mindset, or else you're already defeated when you go on the floor. You have to,
Yeah, you do.
I play with them. I tell them every day I'm the best point guard in the gym. That's what I say. At my age, I'm the best one in this gym. And I tell all of them, you can't beat me. But that's the confidence. I can't go in there telling them you faster than me and you could beat me. I can't say that.
Yeah.
So I'm the best point guard in here. every day. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, no, that's what's up. Well, Coach Shanda Bailey, like when you look at women's basketball, women's basketball, not just in the state, but in the DMV and collegiate league, and even in WNBA, the last 10 plus years have taken off. The women's Final Four last year got the highest ratings it's ever gotten, and it's got higher ratings than many of the professional sport championship games, which I found impressive. You have, we all know about Dawn Staley, but you look at LSU, there's so many stories within women's college basketball. You have now the NIL deals. There's more marketing allowing these young ladies to brand themselves and get money. But there's also a perception that, well, women's basketball is great, but it's not as great as the men's game. This is not about getting a hot take, but do you find yourself, because even though women's basketball is great, do you find yourself still trying to prove yourself as a coach in a male-dominated profession, like with the biases? Or I had a female AAU coach told me she was up in Maryland out here in PG, and she said she was checking in her team, and he said, "Oh no, the team moms and managers go over here." She said, "Excuse me, I'm the head coach." This was recently. So I found that, like, that's wild to me. She let them know, in her own way, but at the same time, you're in the mix and you've been doing this for a long time. So what are your thoughts on that when it comes to the game?
It's definitely a fight for females in our own sport. In our own sport. There are more male coaches. If you look in the 757, there are more male coaches in girls basketball than there are females. We're the underdog in our own sport all the time. All of the time. I have conversations with the refs all the time on the differences in how they call the games. I just had a conversation with the officials about a tech that my player got yesterday for saying and one after a shot, and there's no way they would have called that in a boys game. No way. And when I questioned the ref about it and I walked off and did like a little hand fan, I guess, he teched me up because, you're a female. You're going to stand here and listen to what it is that I have to say. You never would have done that to E. You never would have done that to. So we are definitely underdogs in our own sport. They'll let men come in and, recruit and do whatever they want to do and try to dominate the sport. And y'all know I'm gonna say it. And females, I have to follow the rules. So it's definitely is a challenge for us, but it makes me proud when I see my kids being successful after this, because you shouldn't coach for yourself. I don't coach for myself. I don't coach for the accolades. I don't care if I never get a lick of recognition. As long as my kids that want to go to college and play basketball, go to college and play. As long as, they get the recognition that they want to have out of the sport, then I'm fine with it. That's what I coach for the kids, not for my own personal accolades or recognition, so, me and some of the other coaches are just different. It's not about me. It's about the kids. So
I didn't even think about the fact that you're right. Like, even with ladies basketball, you still see a lot of men coaches. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's weird because I know you, Shanda, and I know you personally, for over 20 years, but I also know you as a coach. And you're confident. You fight for your team. You advocate for them. You make adjustments. You're passionate. You're not afraid of a confrontation. But when you do it, and other ladies like yourself, it seems like, oh, well, she's over masculine or it's not tasteful.
Absolutely. We had a game this summer where the coach grabbed my hand and wouldn't let it go.
What?
Oh, this is probably
hold on. Yeah. What?
Yep,
grabbed your hand.
Yeah.
Was this summer league? This was summer league?
Fall league.
What?
We played a team in the PD one time, and the coach, we beat him bad, and the coach grabbed my hand and shook it really hard, like gripped it. So as a female, he would have never done that to a guy. He would have never done it to a man. but they will, I'm telling you, they do all kinds of things. And then, when I turn around and, you hear me yelling or I say something, and it's like, I'm supposed to be quiet about it somehow, and I'm supposed to feel a certain way about it, but it happens. It's a female sport, and unfortunately, men want to dominate that too sometimes, and they would never act that way in their own sport.
Yeah.
Never act
Great
that way.
point. Great point.
But in the PD, have more female coaches than we have male coaches. When we started off, it wasn't that way. But right now, we do. We have more female coaches now in the PD. There's still more male coaches in the 757. And they do kind of allow the men to dominate our sport, which I personally have a problem with, that you let men come in and ruin the sport and, recruit all over the different cities and, pick a team, and nobody else is allowed to do that. I think that's kind of unfair, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the recruiting thing is crazy. Like, that's crazy. Shanda, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to say this while we record this, and I'm not going to take this out. I'm going to probably, you gave me an idea to get you and some other women coaches on to talk about this after the season or sometime this year, because the more I talk to you, the more I see stuff on Twitter, the more I watch like mini series and things like that. It's something. I have 2 daughters, and including my son, so I have 3 children, but I thank God for my oldest daughter, Sydney, because she tells me about some of the discrepancies and hypocrisies that you all face. And I'm not always aware, even though I think I'm empathetic, I'm not always aware. I had no idea it was getting that crazy.
Yeah. Offline, but it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, like a whole team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
10 kids on the team, 8 of them are recruited. It's ridiculous.
Jaiden, I saw you nod your head, and I saw all y'all nod your head. So when y'all see that happening, y'all hear about it, does that make y'all want to smash the team more, Jaiden? I'm asking you. You got yourself on mute. Like, you ever like, oh, yo, did y'all get it together amongst yourself? Like, yo, let's go out here and take care of business. Oh, they think it's sweet out here. Y'all get it. Y'all get it on like that.
Definitely, I feel like it makes us more determined to beat them because they're going to do that. So we got to come out there and show them who we really are.
Okay. I'll stick with you with this question, and I want to hear from the rest of y'all. So, going to a less intense topic, Coach Shanda Bailey is very, very popular on social media. She is very confident. Do y'all ever get a chance to see her in that light, like when she's not on y'all and yelling, like Dreyana said? Do y'all ever get to see the Shanda Bailey, the mom, the TikToks doing with her daughter? Do y'all ever get that side of her when she's, okay. So y'all do get a chance to see that side of her.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, KD, I'll ask you this then. I'm gonna go to you, since you my emotional leader. In you guys, you ladies are in your prime. Shanda Bailey, I saw her play in her prime. How would she stack against y'all if she played against y'all in her prime versus y'all? Like Shanda Bailey when she was in the 90s, that's Shanda Bailey. Like, how would y'all do? Look, I mean, I'll start with you, KD.
Okay. Let me be very honest. Coach Baily is known for throwing the elbow at somebody, okay? One thing, she don't play when it comes to physicality. Like, and if you see, like, we have everybody on our team is very much different sizes. So when it comes to physicality and stuff like that, Coach Baily don't care. Because Coach Baily been all our size before. So she'd be like, no, I don't care. So if we was to play Coach Baily in her prime now, I feel like we could give Coach Baily the business. I feel like us in our prime versus Coach Baily in her prime, we could give her the business.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a game.
And Corynn, you share the same sentiments? It's whatever? Like, you agree? Corynn?
Yes, I definitely agree. When we're at practice, she'll jump in, she'll try to do what she does, foul us, throw an elbow, do anything that she can. But at the end of the day, KD loves to yell at her that she can't run, she can't jump. So, it's just, I feel like we could beat her.
Lord have mercy.
Dreyana, point guard. What we got? Yo, I know y'all play different positions. You know what I'm saying? Could you lock her down? What would it be like? Would you be able to get in her head?
No.
Her head, I don't know about getting in her head. It would probably be a silent game because she knows she can't get in my head. I'm gonna do me regardless. But I can't really relate to them because she's tried to guard them, but she knows she can't check me. So she's never walked up on me. So I really, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never had to worry about that. She plays me back because she know I don't play. I get down. So I'm gonna shoot. So I'm gonna do. But
I love it. I love it. So this is my last question for y'all. Y'all been great on this show. I always ask this question to kids, no matter the sport, when I'm just seeing them, talking to them in person. I like the insight that I get from this question. Individually, and then team wise. Throughout the season, Dreyana, when they see you play and they see the Hampton High Crabbers, Lady Crabbers play, what are they going to say about you night in, night out, and at the end of the season? And what should they expect when they watch the Lady Crabbers play in the 23-24 season? Dreyana, you first.
What I think people will say about me is I've improved. Like, I've stepped into that leadership role because I've never been, I can't say that I'm not a leader, but I've never been really vocal. Like, I've always let people do stuff for me. And I've like just let myself fall behind other people and let them do it. But I know that this year people will say that I've improved and I've stepped into that role and I can be what people say I wouldn't be. And at the end of the season, I think people will be impressed, like shocked, not shocked, maybe shocked by how we look. Because there's a lot of people out there saying we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're not going to make it again. We don't have Kennedy, so we're not nothing. I think a lot of people will be shocked by what we can really do.
All right. Well said. Corynn, same question. What are they going to say about you and your team when it's all said and done this year?
I want people to be able to tell that I improved because my sophomore year, I was kind of a post player and a guard. And now I've always been kind of a role player, and I just want to be able to step into that role a little bit more, be able to score more this season, and people to just be able to tell that I stepped up a little bit more than I have these past few years.
Well said. And what are they going to say about your team? Same thing Dreyana said?
I want them to be impressed because, you hear whispers, Kennedy's not here, will they be as good? And I want people to just be impressed and we be able to prove them wrong, that we are the team that we can be with or without Kennedy in the past few years, the people that we've had to, just take over. It'll be a team effort.
Facts. KD, what are they going to say about you and the team?
What they gonna say about me? I don't really know. I feel like
hold on.
Coming from being an original post player for Hampton High.
Hold on, start over. You're breaking up a little bit. What were you gonna say?
To step into. All right, so I feel like they're gonna say a lot about me coming from a post player. When I first came here, I was strictly a post player, but now that I'm getting close to going to school, it's more of me learning how to fix up my ball handling, tweak my jump shot, do the little things that'll put me out over the people that are the same height as me or the same size as me. So I feel like my jump shot, they'll be like, oh, she can improve shooting-wise, physicality-wise, being more coachable, you know what I'm saying, just learning how to be quiet sometimes. That's what I feel like more people will start to notice about me. I'm also coming into that leadership role a little bit more, being more vocal on the floor, trying to make sure that everything is aligned when we're on the floor. Because, yes, the coaches might say things, but you also need somebody who's going to say it on the floor, who the coaches can speak through to the players that's on the floor. Team-wise, I'm going to piggyback off what Corynn said. A lot of people do say we're not going to be nothing without Kennedy, or we don't know how that is, but Kennedy was a great player. You cannot take that away from her. So we all played our roles, but that never took away from the fact that we also were great players, even though we were playing our roles. It's just time for us individually to step out of our shells and show people that now that she's not here, we have our own skills. We have other things that we can contribute to outside of her and her not being here. So one thing about us being a team is just really showing everybody that it's not a one-man game anymore. We have people who can do it. We have people that are good at it. We have people that defend to run forward, rebound, shooting the ball. we have everybody that ain't other Kennedy. So it's not a man game this year. To see that and notice that it's more than us and it's more than just her. It's a team now. We have more people that's stepping outside their shells. And we got people that's been ready. We hungry now.
Yeah, no doubt. And Jaiden, before I get to you, well, go ahead, answer this question. Go ahead. Yeah, same thing. What are they gonna say about you and the team?
I feel like what they're gonna say about me is that I've definitely improved from my 9th and 10th grade year. I've got a lot better, and I've worked on my handling the ball and post moves, definitely. And I feel like what they're gonna say about our team is basically what they said. I feel like we can show them a lot this year. We can be good.
No doubt. Coach Baily, before I get to you for this last question, I meant to tell you, Corynn, when you jumped on, I'm tight with your family. I don't know if you know Tynes. I believe he's your cousin, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna do he's my videographer. He's my roommate from college, and he was my teammate at Hampton High and at Virginia Tech. So I just thought about that. I wanted to say that, when you get my age, you start to remember stuff and you start saying, lady, I know your grandmother. I know your sister. You do stuff like that.
Yeah, when I mentioned your name to my dad, he did say that you were really close with my cousin.
Yeah, man. And y'all got a big family.
I was about to say, just running around here.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of Lawrence Tynes, Tyrone Tynes, Arnell Hughes, Marcia Edwards. It's a whole bunch of y'all. Yeah, and all of y'all are doing successful. So shout out to your family. But Coach Baily,
yes,
talk about what people should expect. I mean, obviously, last season's last season. The year before that is the year before that. Every season's different. But what are people going to say about the Lady Crabbers when y'all step on the court Tuesday night, home opener against Woodside, and throughout the season?
Well, the first thing I want to say is it playing without Kennedy. I mean, any coach would love to have her on the floor, but what I remind people of is before Kennedy, there was Danielle. And before Danielle, there was Cece. And before Cece, there was Maya. And before Maya, there's always a player that we hate to see go. And, Kennedy is, one of the best. She has the highest scoring average in the history of school. She beat Damon out by like 0.3.
What? She got Damon?
Yeah, she got him. But we reinvent the wheel when we have to. So that's why I said it's been a challenge trying to figure out what's going to work best for us and how we should play, and how to play to our advantage. But I think we've definitely done that. Everybody that is on this call has gotten better. It's a blessing and a curse playing with Kennedy, because you don't have to do anything, and then when she's gone, you have to do something now, so just watching how everybody has grown into a different role, for me is rewarding as a coach. So I think definitely when they see us play, they'll think, they did it again. They came in and they had to change themselves and adapt to, a style that fits them. We had to do that when Jayla left, and we were left with Kennedy and Prophet, and then Prophet graduated, and we had Kennedy by herself, and we had to, so every year we have to reinvent it, and we have to do something different. This year is no different. It's a challenge, but it's no different. I think people will definitely be impressed with Dreyana. Like, she looks like a point guard. Jaiden, can score anywhere from around the basket. KD stepping into, a new role, handling the ball and, playing instead of just inside and playing more, inside the arc. She's stepping outside the arc and playing. Corynn, always, I said we can't, win a game without her on the floor. She is definitely our scrappiest player. She's the only one that really boxes out. Everybody else is just athletic and jumps and can get it. But Corynn is going to fundamental you to death. She's going to box you out. She's going to push you. She's going to get on the floor for a 50-50
I love
ball.
it. I love it.
I mean, we have all the pieces, putting them together is, what we do. And every year, right after the Christmas break, right around mid-February is when we start looking like we're supposed to look, so it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but, I'm confident in my team. I love them. And I think we would definitely be there.
I love that. I actually lied. There's one last question. What is Crabber pride? And does your team know what that means? Because you and I do, but do they know what that means? So for people watching and listening to this, what is Crabber pride? And do these ladies know what that means?
I think for the kids, just because of the generation, it has a different connotation for them than it for us. Okay. So, back in our day, it was all about Hampton. Like, there's no way, these kids, did you know that kids nowadays are actually friends with kids from other schools? Like on social media. That's nothing. Right. Yeah. And they'll make a highlight tape and, the kids will go and we would never, if we had social media, we would never even, I ain't looking at your post. I ain't gonna like it. Like none of that. But
we hated each other. We hated Bethel. We hated Alverson and Rutland. And Rutland is my guy. We hated Mitchville and Phoebus. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
So, I think the kids can look around Hampton High School and see the coaches that are there, as far as, me and Eric and Coach Vias and the football coaches, and even the wrestling coach at one point in time, the baseball coach, Coach Mitchell's son is there.
Yeah, that's right.
You look around the school and you see Crabber pride because the coaches come back and we give back to the school. We give back to the program that gave so much to us. That is Crabber pride. And you just don't see that when you look around other high schools. So it does have a special meaning for us, a different connotation for us than it does for this new generation of kids. But Crabber pride is Crabber pride. You grow up in it, you give back. So I'm hoping that my kids, do that in their day when their time comes. And I teach them that, the meaning of life is, finding your gift, and the purpose of life is giving it away. So,
Gems. Yeah. Well, listen. How can everybody find your schedule?
It is on right now. So Max Preps, I will put it on our Instagram page and I will tweet it on Hampton Crabbers Varsity Girls Basketball. I'll put it on IG and Crabber Sports on Facebook. I think Coach Vias has it listed there as well.
That's awesome. I just want to thank you, Shanda, Coach Baily, for jumping on. I know it's been a long day. It's been a long week. Got a lot going on. Ladies, I want to thank all of y'all for jumping on. This was great. I can't wait to watch y'all this season. Obviously, I'm a little biased given I'm a Crabber till I die, but at the same time, I appreciate all the hard work and respect all the sacrifices y'all making to be the best version of yourselves. I wanted to make sure y'all take care of y'all mental health, make sure y'all take care of each other, and make sure y'all appreciate and stay in the moment. Each game, each season, each practice, appreciate the sisterhood and bond y'all share. It's very special. Very few people do what y'all do because if it was easy, everybody would do it. So y'all are part of a special group. So I want to encourage y'all to continue to strive for success. For those watching, make sure you continue to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. The Vicktory Life Legacy podcast series is something special because we highlight great people like these young ladies and my longtime friend, Shanda Bailey, Coach Baily. Good luck to y'all. I can't wait to see y'all. Crabber pride. At the same time, like I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you have a positive impact and you leave a great legacy. That's Vicktory Life. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.